Where did you get these lies from? I never took any of those things. Mr. Aomide lied smoothly, his gaze fixed and indifferent as he stared at Barrister John. Hearing his words, Barrister John smiled faintly. Really? Because the evidence I have here says otherwise, he said, pulling out his phone and playing a recording. As soon as Mr. Aomide heard the recording, his composure faltered. His expression froze for a moment before he quickly regained his cool. Though Barrister John had caught the shift, he paused the recording and slipped the phone back into his pocket. I hope you know that these recordings won't mean anything in a court of law. There's no evidence that the people in that video are talking about me, Mr. Aomide said with a smile. Though inwardly, he was boiling with rage. Barrister John shrugged casually. You don't need to tell me that, but I just wanted you to know you're fighting a losing case. Before I even considered reopening the case, I had already gathered strong evidence that will be used in court. But I wanted to show this to you first. Maybe, if you come clean and return my client's property, we can pretend this never happened. I don't know what exactly you're talking about, Barrister. I only did what was written in Mr. James's will. And if you want to go to court, I'm ready. I have nothing to fear, Mr. Aomide responded quickly. Barrister John let out a small laugh. Very well. See you in court then, Mr. Aomide. With that, he stood up and walked out of the office, hoping his plan would work. He had secretly planted a camera under Mr. Aomide's desk, hoping it would provide more clues. As soon as the door closed behind him, Mr. Aomide let out all his pent-up frustration. He flung everything on his desk to the floor, sending papers and objects crashing down as he muttered a string of curses. Without wasting a moment, he grabbed his phone and dialed Mr. Henry's number. The line rang twice before it was picked up. From the loud music blaring on the other end, Mr. Aomide quickly deduced that Mr. Henry was at a bar, drinking at this time of day. The realization only added to his fury. Bunch of useless idiots, Mr. Aomide thought inwardly, regretting ever getting involved with them. Hello, Mr. Aomide. I never thought you'd call me again after our business, came Mr. Henry's loud, cheerful voice. Get away from the loud music. I need to speak to you, Mr. Aomide said, holding back his frustration and speaking in a more measured tone. Mr. Henry excused himself from his drinking buddies and moved to a quieter corner. You can speak now. Why are you sounding so serious? Is something the matter? James's wife hired a new lawyer to reopen her case, Mr. Aomide replied, his voice tight with tension. Is that a problem? It's not like they have any evidence, Mr. Henry answered nonchalantly, taking a sip from his bottle. Hearing that alone agitated Mr. Aomide so much that he lost his cool and shouted, Yes, she has evidence, because you idiots can't keep business secrets from women. I thought our dealings were supposed to be between me and your brothers, but how is it that your sister and your brother's wife went around running their mouths, making Angela overhear and record their conversation? Now they have evidence of everything, he finished in one breath, his anger boiling over. Mr. Henry froze, the drink slipping from his fingers. Yo! Speak slowly. Are you trying to say that Angela recorded their conversation? How? I think that's a question for your sister to answer. You all better find a solution to this fast, or we're done for, Mr. Aomide snapped, then immediately ended the call, flinging his phone away in frustration. He had just started working on the house in the estate after selling off his own land to pay off a loan from the bank. Now, he was using the remaining funds to finish the building so he could move in with his family. After receiving the call from Mr. Aomide, Henry's immediately called his brothers to inform them of the situation. Emeka was especially enraged when he heard the news, rushing home to confirm it with his wife. Dinma was in the kitchen when her husband stormed in. She greeted him, but the next thing she knew, she felt a sharp sting on her cheek, a deep slap. Chimo! My husband, what have I done to deserve this? Dinma cried, her hands pressed against her cheek, her eyes wide with shock. How can you be so stupid, woman? You were so reckless, running your mouth with Ada about how we took my brother's property from his wife. Now Angela recorded the conversation and took it to a lawyer. She's suing us in court. Have you seen what your stupidity has caused? Emeka thundered, his voice filled with fury. Dinma began, but she couldn't find the words. She stood there, speechless, staring at her husband. She had never seen him this angry before. This was the first time he had raised his fist to her since they got married. Emeka pointed at her, his voice cold with authority. Now listen to me, woman. You'll go out there and fix this mess, or else. You won't like what happens next. He shoved her aside and stormed out of the house. Dinma immediately rushed to her phone to call Ada, but Ada's call came through just then, and she quickly picked it up. Now, are you ready for the plan? Ada's voice came through confidently. Let's do it, Dinma replied, her voice now resolute. She had felt reluctant before, but not anymore. If she didn't follow through and threaten Angela, their entire family might end up behind bars. And who would take care of her children then? I'll contact my people right away, and they'll handle it, Ada said, ready to wrap up the conversation. But just as she was about to hang up, Dinma added something. Remember, nothing happens to her children. We're just going to threaten her into dropping the case. I'm not a beast who hurts children, Ada scoffed, before disconnecting the line. So, did that lady end up helping you with the case? I mean the one who said her husband is a good lawyer? Madam Sandra asked Angela casually. She had been wanting to ask all morning, but they'd been busy attending to customers. Now that things had quieted down a bit, she finally had the chance. Angela looked up from the wig she was making and nodded with a smile. Yeah, she did. I've already met with her husband. He said the first court hearing is this Friday. That's great news. If her husband is as good as she says, then the case is practically a win already, Madam Sandra said. Angela let out a deep sigh. I hope so. Won't you go pick your kids from school? It's past 3 p.m., Anita chimed in. Oh, Auntie Jennifer is helping me with that, Angela replied. She's working the night shift today and offered to pick them up. She had barely finished speaking when her phone began to ring. Speak of the devil, it's her. Angela chuckled softly, picking up the call. Angela, something bad just happened to the girls, came Auntie Jennifer's frantic voice on the other end. The smile on Angela's face froze instantly. That voice, desperate, shaky, sounded exactly like the one that had called her a few months ago, when her husband died. She swallowed hard, her chest tightening with fear. Auntie Jennifer, what are you saying? What happened to my children? I can't find them. They've been kidnapped. I just went inside the fast food place to get them ice cream, and by the time I came out, they were gone. Auntie Jennifer's frantic voice cracked through the phone. Angela felt her world crumble, again, for the second time. Her hands began to tremble, so much so that her colleagues quickly noticed the change in her expression and began gathering around her, anxious to hear what was going on. What do you mean my children have been kidnapped? Who? How? Where? She paused, overwhelmed, then snapped. You know what? Just send me the address. I'm coming there right now. Without another word, Angela rushed out of the shop. Madam Sandra, still in shock, dropped what she was doing, grabbed her car keys, and ran after her. Get in, Angela! She shouted as she started the car. Angela glanced around briefly, then opened the door and climbed in. They sped off immediately. Madam Sandra pushed the car faster, glancing repeatedly at the trembling woman beside her. She didn't blame her. Any mother would panic after hearing her 2 children had been kidnapped. "They'll be fine, Angela. Just try to calm down. You look like something has already happened to them," she said gently, trying to offer some comfort. Angela only nodded, her hands still shaking as she fought to keep herself together. Suddenly, Angela's phone began to ring. The caller ID showed an unknown number. She just stared at it, frozen in fear. "Pick it up," Madame Sandra said quickly. "It might be them calling." "Oh, okay." Angela nodded robotically and picked up the call. "You must have heard the news about your children's kidnapping by now," came a deep, mysterious voice on the other end. The moment Angela heard it, rage surged through her. "You bastard! Where are my girls? I swear to God, if anything happens to my children, I will—" "You will do nothing," the voice cut her off coldly. "Now listen, woman. I'm not here for games. Your children are safe, and you'll get them back tomorrow if you follow 2 simple rules. 1. Withdraw the charges against your in-laws. 2. Do not involve the police. Do that, and you'll have your children safely back in your arms by tomorrow." "You devil!" Angela cried out. "I will find you. God bear me witness. I will kill you if you lay a finger on my babies." "I'll await your response," the voice said coldly. "But remember, if you involve the police, your pretty little girls will be joining their father in the great beyond. You have until tomorrow morning." And just like that, the line went dead. Angela immediately tried calling back, but the number was no longer available. Her hands dropped, and she broke down in tears. How could God give her such enemies, all in the name of in-laws? What did they say? What do they want? Madame Sandra asked anxiously. "They want me to withdraw the case against my in-laws and not involve the police. Otherwise, they'll harm my babies," Angela sobbed, covering her face with her hands. "Those devils of in-laws," Madame Sandra muttered angrily. "So, what are you going to do?" Angela wiped her tears and looked out the window, spotting Auntie Jennifer pacing anxiously in front of the fast food restaurant where her car was parked. "First, I'm going to withdraw the case and get my children back safely. After that, I'll figure out what to do next. Please, just pull over somewhere." "That's a wise choice," Madame Sandra said gently, patting Angela's back before parking by the side of the road. Angela quickly got out and ran towards the elderly woman, pulling her into a tight hug. She knew Auntie Jennifer must be feeling incredibly guilty, likely blaming herself already. "Angela, I'm so sorry I lost them," Auntie Jennifer sobbed. "I just told them to stay in the car while I went to get the ice cream, just like Chiara wanted. But when I came back, the car was empty. I couldn't find them anywhere." She began trembling as she spoke, tears running down her face. "Why don't we go to the police?" Angela said nothing. She simply held her tighter, silently comforting her. "Auntie Jennifer, please don't blame yourself. And no, we won't inform the police," Angela said softly. "Why not? They need to start looking for the girls immediately." Auntie Jennifer pulled away from the embrace, her face filled with confusion and panic. "Because I know who took them, and I know exactly what they want," Angela replied, her expression turning cold and resolute. She turned to Madame Sandra. "Please, can you take Auntie Jennifer home in your car? I need to take hers somewhere, quickly." Without hesitation, Madame Sandra nodded. "Of course, just be careful." "Thanks," Angela muttered, then turned and headed straight for Aunt Jennifer's car. She got in, started the engine, and sped off, her destination clear in her mind: Dinma's house. Her brother-in-law's house was close to their old place, so Angela took a shortcut to get there faster. Her mind raced in every direction. Were her children safe? Had they eaten? Were they kept in a dirty environment? What if they were scared? Or worse? Nothing. Lord, please watch over my babies. Don't let anything happen to them, she whispered, her voice trembling. With one hand on the wheel, she used her free hand to dial her lawyer's number. Hello, Mrs. James? Came Barrister John's voice on the other end. Angela sniffed back her tears and spoke, her voice low and urgent. Barrister, please. I want to withdraw the court case against my in-laws. If you can do it immediately, I'd really appreciate it. There was a pause on the line before he responded, concern evident in his tone. Are you all right? You don't sound well. Is something wrong? Please, just withdraw the case. Please, Angela pleaded, her voice breaking. All right. Calm down, Angela. What's going on? Barrister John asked, his voice filled with concern. The warmth in his tone made Angela sob even harder. They kidnapped my babies to force me into dropping the case. They said if I involve the police, they'll hurt my girls. Please, just withdraw the case. If anything ever happens to my children, I don't think I can survive it. Please. My God, where are you right now? I'm coming to you, Barrister John said, already abandoning whatever he was doing and heading to his car. I'm on my way to my husband's elder brother's house. They can do anything they want to me, but not my children. So please, Barrister, just withdraw the case. With that, Angela ended the call the moment she arrived at Emeka's house. She parked, jumped out of the car, and banged hard on the gate. When the gateman opened, she shoved him aside and stormed into the compound, shouting Dinma's name at the top of her voice. Dinma appeared outside the moment she heard someone shouting her name. When she saw it was Angela, she furrowed her brows in fake surprise, pretending to have no idea what was going on. Why are you screaming like a mad woman in my compound? She asked, stepping closer in confrontation. Angela let out a bitter scoff and stepped forward too. Without a word, she landed a heavy slap across Dinma's face. What the? Dinma barely managed to say before Angela struck her again, this time with her left hand. And just like that, a full-blown fight broke out between the two women. You bitch! How dare you slap me in my own house? Dinma yelled, grabbing Angela's hair with both hands. Fully enraged, her mind filled with thoughts of her children suffering in the hands of kidnappers, Angela, like a wounded lioness, gathered all her strength and pounced on Dinma, slamming her flat onto the ground. The gateman stood frozen in shock. He took a step forward to intervene, then quickly stepped back, clearly unsure of what to do. Just then, Barrister John arrived. He had parked his car outside and, seeing the gate wide open, rushed in, only to find Angela on top of another woman, furiously throwing punches. He blinked at the sight, then let out a dry chuckle. Never mess with a mother when it comes to her children, he muttered to himself before hurrying forward. He gently pulled Angela off Dinma, trying not to hurt her. Angela, stop. Fighting won't solve this. Let's handle it the right way. Breathing heavily, Angela pointed at Dinma. Listen to me. I'll withdraw the case, just as you want. But if a single hair is harmed on my daughter, you'll see true madness. You, your sons, your husband, they'll all feel what I'm going through. I'll chase you all to the grave, even if it's the last thing I do. I swear on my husband's grave, Angela will make you and everyone involved taste the pain of being motherless and a widow. I dare you to test me, Dinma. You've gone mad, Dinma retorted, her eyes wide in shock. Never in her wildest dreams had she imagined Angela would be this aggressive. What makes you think I had anything to do with your children's kidnapping? If you can get a mourning woman, fresh from losing her husband, drunk and set her up with 3 men, then you can do anything, Dinma, Angela shot back. You can harm me, but not my babies. I'd even make a deal with the devil if it meant getting back at all of you. Angela never mentioned anything about her children being kidnapped. So how did you know about it? Barrister John immediately caught the slip-up and asked. Dinma awkwardly adjusted her hair and cleared her throat. Well, seeing her come to my house to fight me, isn't that obvious? She tried to cover up, then added, coming here to accuse me of something I didn't do is a crime too. Just don't let anything happen to my girls, or you'll have to deal with both your sons and your husband. Angela finished, her voice tense. After all, he had an interest in marrying me before, and he still does. With that, she turned to leave. Barrister John was almost impressed, his eyes wide in admiration. He hurried after her to catch up outside. You did well, he said with a gentle smile. But Angela's eyes filled with tears, and she began sobbing again. Without saying a word, Barrister John pulled her into a warm hug. He usually didn't like physical contact with his clients, but this woman needed comfort. So he held her. Angela sobbed in his arms for a while, letting her frustration pour out in her tears. Barrister John gently patted her back, offering silent comfort. After a few moments, Angela calmed down and glanced at his soaked shirt, muttering, Sorry, I ruined your shirt. It's all right, he said softly. Let me take you home. I drove here, Angela replied in a low tone, her voice barely a whisper from all the crying. But Barrister John shook his head. You're in no shape to drive. I'll bring your car home later. You need to get those wounds cleaned up, he said, his eyes focusing on the scratches on her hands and face from Dinma's long nails. I'm fine, Angela murmured before getting into his car, and he drove off. I've already ordered my employee to send them the letter that the court case has been withdrawn. So I guess they'll release your children now, Barrister John said, hoping his words would bring her some comfort. Thank you, Angela muttered, her gaze fixed outside the window. Will you really let them take everything from you? He asked, after a long silence. Angela heard his question, but remained quiet. Nothing mattered to her anymore, not if her children weren't with her, so she didn't answer. Barrister John sighed deeply, understanding her pain. He had only one child, and he would go crazy if anything happened to them. He could only imagine what she was feeling. When Angela arrived home, Madame Sandra was still there, along with Auntie Jennifer, who had called in sick to work. She was too shaken and anxious to go in, given her state of mind. Angela walked inside and sat down on the sofa without saying a word to either of them. She clutched her phone tightly, staring blankly into the empty space around her. It was Barrister John who explained the situation to the two women, urging them to watch over Angela while he went to gather more evidence. Auntie Jennifer thanked him, and he left. Madame Sandra stayed until evening, only leaving when she remembered her children were waiting for her at home. She promised to return the next day. It was just Auntie Jennifer and Angela in the house. Neither of them spoke, unsure of what to say. The house felt unbearably empty and lonely without the girls. Auntie Jennifer silently prayed, hoping nothing had happened to the children, while Angela stared blankly into the air, her phone tightly clutched in her hands. The entire night, Angela didn't sleep a wink, unable to even consider resting when she knew her babies were out there and she couldn't do anything to help them. Her heart was heavy with anxiety and unease. Auntie Jennifer, being an elderly woman, dozed off in the early hours of the morning. She immediately woke up as soon as she heard Angela's phone ring. Hello, where are my girls? I've withdrawn the case, just like you promised. Angela kept speaking, but the voice on the other end cut her off immediately. Your girls are in your car, parked outside, and don't ever... Angela didn't wait for them to finish before dropping her phone and rushing out of the compound. She headed straight to where Auntie Jennifer had parked the car and opened the door to find her two children sleeping inside. She let out a heavy sigh of relief and carried them out, hugging them tightly. As soon as Angela rushed out, Auntie Jennifer followed, and when she saw the girls, she immediately knelt down to praise God. Winnie and Ciara opened their eyes, and as soon as they saw their mummy, they began to cry all over again. "Mummy, I never thought I'd see you again," Ciara said, her voice trembling. "I was so scared." "Shh, you're home now. Mummy is so sorry you both had to go through that ordeal. It won't happen again, I promise," Angela whispered, tears streaming down her face as she hugged them tightly. "Angela, let's take them inside. They need to eat and bathe," Auntie Jennifer gently reminded her. Angela nodded, releasing them from her embrace and allowing them to hug Auntie Jennifer before they all went inside. While Auntie Jennifer bathed and fed the girls, Angela called her lawyer and Madam Sandra to let them know her children were home. They both promised to come around soon. A few weeks later, as Angela played with her kids and Auntie Jennifer's dog, she received a call at home. She had kept her children from going to school for a while and had stopped working herself, wanting to stay home with her girls until this difficult time was behind her. "Hello? Am I speaking to Mrs. James?" came a strange, gentle voice from the phone. Angela furrowed her brows slightly and replied, "Yes, who is this?" "We're calling from the delivery company, ma'am. Your husband arranged for us to deliver a package to you for your birthday some months ago. Today is your birthday, I presume." "Birthday?" Angela repeated slowly, then lowered her phone from her ear to check the date. It was, in fact, her birthday. She had even forgotten what a birthday was, considering everything she had been through. "Mom, are you still there?" the voice asked again. Yes, go ahead, please," Angela replied, still processing the news. "Okay, ma'am. We just need the address where you are, and our dispatch rider will bring the package to you." Angela nodded, still wondering what her husband had arranged for her before he passed. She provided the address. "All right, ma'am. We'll be there in 30 minutes," the lady said, before ending the call. "Mummy, who was that on the phone?" Winnie asked. "Baby, someone said they're bringing a package for Mummy. They said your daddy asked them to deliver it," Angela replied with a warm smile. At the mention of her daddy, Ciara stopped playing with the dog and ran towards them. "Mummy, did Daddy send you a package from heaven?" Her question made Angela laugh lightly, and she nodded. "Yes, Daddy sent a package to us from heaven." "Yeah!" Ciara screamed happily, and her sister laughed at her. Angela didn't want to spoil the moment by telling her the truth, so she kept quiet. Exactly 30 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. Angela, with her children, rushed to open it. It was the delivery guy. He handed Angela a large brown envelope and asked her to sign for it, which she did before closing the door. Anxious to see what her husband had sent, Angela tore open the envelope, and what she saw left her speechless. Inside were the original documents of her husband's property, including his will, in which he bequeathed all his properties to his wife and children, and even left a little something for his family. She also found a black ATM card and a letter. She sat down and began reading the letter. By the time she finished, Angela was in tears. At that moment, she missed her husband terribly and longed to see him. But as she looked at her two children, who were staring at her in confusion, wondering why she was crying, she hugged them tightly. Her daughter, Ciara, looked exactly like her husband, so it was almost as though she were staring at him. "Mummy, why are you crying?" Winnie asked, her voice soft. "Mummy is happy, that's why," Angela replied, heaving a deep sigh of relief. Finally, everything was falling into place. In the letter, her husband had written the PIN to the ATM card and explained that the amount on it was limitless. She could spend it however she wanted as her birthday present. Angela immediately called her lawyer to come over, and he arrived in just a few minutes, as though he had been waiting for her call. When Angela handed him all the documents, Barrister John was elated. He was genuinely happy for her. At least things were finally turning around for the better. "This is excellent. Your husband was truly a wise man," Barrister John said with a smile. "I never doubted that for a second," Angela replied warmly, adding, "Although he left too soon, I'm still grateful I met him. I'd choose him again and again, even in my next life. With this evidence, we don't need to serve your in-laws any papers. Instead, we'll take them by surprise, by arresting each and every one of them, including the lawyer. So, ma'am, when would you like me to proceed?" Barrister John asked, smiling. "Barrister John, please proceed immediately," Angela replied with a laugh. "But before that, I'd like you to come with me to a place," he said mysteriously. Angela raised her brows in confusion. "Where?" "You'll find out when we get there. And of course, you're coming with your children," he added. Angela narrowed her eyes slightly, perplexed. "Why can't you just tell me?" "If I tell you, it won't be a secret anymore. Come on, go get ready with your girls. I'll be waiting," he said, laughing. "Okay," Angela replied, standing up and heading inside. She rummaged through her clothes and picked out a red dress that her husband had bought for her. She also dressed her daughters, and within a few minutes, they were all ready. "Barrister, we're ready," she announced as she stepped out of the room. "You girls are looking so pretty," he complimented them while gently touching their hair. "Uncle, I'm more pretty than my sister," Ciara said, causing everyone to laugh. "Of course you're prettier," Barrister John agreed, and Ciara blushed slightly, while Winnie just scoffed at her. Together, they all went outside and got into Barrister John's car. He drove them to Madame Sandra's hair salon. "This is my workplace," Angela said, still unsure of what was going on. "I know. Get out. I need to show you something," Barrister John replied, turning off the ignition. Angela stepped out and helped her children as they all walked into the shop. Barrister John and the girls let Angela go in first. "Surprise!" A loud cheer erupted, followed by the popping of balloons as soon as Angela stepped into the shop. Her mouth hung open in shock as she stared at everyone, speechless, until she heard her daughters' voices. "Happy birthday, Mummy!" Angela turned around to see Winnie holding a small birthday cake and Ciara carrying a bottle of wine. "Girls, how?" "Thank you so much," she said, smiling as she took the cake from Winnie and the wine from Ciara. She gave each of them a peck on the cheek before turning to face the people gathered there. Barrister John's wife, Aunt Jennifer, Madame Sandra, Barrister John, and her colleagues, who had become her family over time. "Happy birthday, Angela!" They all chorused together, and she chuckled lightly, tears already gathering in her eyes. "We really need to start calling you the Queen of Tears," Madame Sandra said, and they all laughed. "I don't even know why I'm crying." Angela chuckled through her tears, then asked, "How did you guys know about my birthday?" "I never mentioned it to anyone." "Your children are the ones behind it," Barrister John replied, laughing as he recounted the story of how, just minutes after Angela called him, Winnie had called to ask him to organize a little birthday surprise for her mummy. She promised to repay him when she grew up and started making money. So, he called his wife and asked her to put together the surprise for Angela. "And little Winnie, make sure to pay Uncle back." He winked at her, and everyone laughed again. "Don't worry, Uncle. I'll become a lawyer and help you with some cases," Winnie assured him in her charming, childlike voice. They all laughed when they heard it, including Angela, who squatted down to her daughter's level. "Thank you, my babies. Mommy loves the birthday surprise. Angela, I pray that from now on, only good things will happen to you, because you've had your fair share of life's harshness," Aunt Jennifer said, and they all chorused, "Amen." "Before we continue, I also have some good news to share," Barrister John began. "Angela has found the original documents for her husband's property, and with this evidence, we can arrest her in-laws." "Thank God. That's great news. Congratulations." Everyone chimed in with their congratulations, and Barrister John's wife hugged Angela tightly, whispering in her ear, "It's all over now. Everything is going to turn out well from now on." "Thank you," Angela replied. After hugging them all, she raised a toast in appreciation to everyone. "I want to thank everyone here who has received and helped a stranger like me in one way or another. Aunt Jennifer, the one I've come to rely on as the mother I never had, you consoled me right at the hospital when I learned of my husband's passing, and since then, you've stood by me. Thank you so much. May my good God continue to bless you, and I would like you to continue living with me and my children in our new house, please." Aunt Jennifer smiled. "It's nothing. I'm happy I could help. And I'd be thrilled to live with you because after staying with the girls and the joy they bring, I don't think I can stay alone anymore," she replied, and they all chuckled. "Madam Sandra, you also helped me. My colleagues, you all took me in like a sister. I really appreciate you all, and I would like to support your business with the sum of 1 million naira." "Ah, are you serious?" Madam Sandra exclaimed happily, and everyone cheered for her. "And to you, my barrister, and his beautiful wife with a heart of gold. Once this case is concluded, I would like to hand over one of my husband's properties to you both, the one he wanted to give to his enemy of a family. I believe it would be more beneficial to those who helped his wife and children, rather than to those who hurt his family." Barrister John and his wife were slightly taken aback when they heard it, and as they tried to reject the offer, Angela insisted that it was the only way she could feel fulfilled and happy. Eventually, they accepted the gift, and everyone prayed for Angela to remain in good health. Just like that, they all shared the little cake and wine before heading home. The next day, Emeka and his wife were still in bed when the police burst into their apartment and arrested them, along with Buchi, Henry, Ada, Sandra, and even Mr. Ayamid. The three men who had slept with Angela, who were also responsible for kidnapping her children, were not left out. All of them found themselves behind bars. Winnie, on the day of the kidnapping, had used her phone to go to school. While the kidnappers thought the girls were sleeping, they revealed their faces and discussed how they spent the night with Angela and Dinma, unaware that the little girl was recording their faces and conversation. However, Winnie didn't give the video to her mother. Instead, she handed it over to Barrister John. Using the video, Barrister John traced the three men and discovered that the police had been searching for them. As a result, all of them were arrested and sentenced to 10 years in prison. With the original documents, Barrister John was able to reclaim Angela's properties, including the one Mr. Ayomide had taken and spent all the money on, hoping to eventually move in. Angela finally moved into the new house with her children and Aunt Jennifer, who had become a godmother to her girls. Everything was now falling into place for Angela. With the help of Barrister John and his wife, she learned how to manage her husband's business and properties. Joy gradually returned to her life, and her face began to glow again. When Angela shared her testimony at church, many people didn't fully grasp the significance of her words since she had lost her companion. But Angela told them, "Even though I lost my husband, I gained a new mother, genuine friends who have become my family. At this moment, I am at peace with myself. Though she still missed her husband terribly, she no longer cried when thinking about him. Instead, she prayed that he rest in peace and wait for her over there. She would join him soon after she finished her work here on earth. Lesson from this story. This story reminds us that no matter how deep the pain or betrayal, with faith, courage, and the support of genuine people, healing is possible. Justice may be delayed, but it will always come. In the end, love, truth, and resilience triumph over evil. Thank you so much for watching. Your love and support mean everything to me. If this story inspired you, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your loved ones to spread the inspiration. I'd also love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to share them in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more interesting African stories. See you in the next video. Bye.